And it's Thursday. I'm just waiting for my Insta to also come on. Just give us a second. It is a new series. And it is absolutely exciting because it's a new series. So I just want to restart my Insta. Something is going on. My internet connection is there. So I'm just going to restart my Insta. There we go. Welcome. I will see as people start checking in. Doesn't look like Insta wants to connect today for some reason. Hello. It's Thursday. We are kicking off our live series this week. It's a new series and it's really exciting. So I just want to check if I can get my other device going. I would like to go live on both Insta and on Facebook. So I'm just going to try and restart this guy and see if we can get it going. And this has obviously become my most favorite thing to do on a Thursday. It's fun. We have a continued education going. And as time goes by, obviously, we are going to include some more people into the groups. We might even start building a series where you get a lot more in-depth knowledge from me. So it's quite exciting times coming ahead. And I think this week is really exciting because we're starting off an entire new series. So, hello Maria, I can see you've logged in. Geez, this device of mine is struggling with Insta. I might just have to post this into. Yeah, it's not working. Sorry guys, Insta is not playing with me today. It's one of those things. So welcome. My name is Tanya Uester, Dr. T as we call it. On this group, my page is Botanicamy, and if I can just give a little bit of history there, I am an absolute green-fingered plant fanatic. Our plant world is really amazing. And as you'll come to see today, our new series about chemical constituents, yes, it may sound quite sciencey and quite intricate, but hey, I'm going to explain it to you so that it becomes really understandable. I really like doing that. I take the really hectic scientific jargon. Sometimes I can't even pronounce the words myself. And I explain it in a way that makes sense in my head, which usually then translates into other people also understanding what I'm trying to say. So we are going to be talking chemical constituents. So who's excited about that? Are there any of you on here today that are scientists at heart? In other words, you didn't study it, couldn't be phased at that stage of your life, but you really are interested in knowing how things work. If you are, obviously type a yes in the comments because that means you are a scientist or a researcher at heart. When you really want to delve into the nitty-gritty things of why things work. And I think that's what fascinates me about the chemistry of essential oils. So as we kick off this new series, we are going to do a small introduction today. Smart and introduction became one word there. That's so funny. We are going to be doing, I just want to reach to the back there. I'm going to quickly get one of my essential oils so that I don't mumbo jumbo my words. Give me a second. There we go. I forgot to apply this blend. And hence the reason now is obviously it's going a little bit dilly in my head. Okay. My head always goes a lot faster than my tongue can speak. So this usually supports me quite quickly. So let's see where it can get me today. All right. Wonderful. I have a lot of yeses coming through. So Bev is definitely very interested. We can see that Rena's also liking the science part. Even Ruthie is on. Welcome. Oh, and Marie says she loves biology. Well, let's see if that adaptive blend of mine is going to start working in a couple of seconds so I don't smoosh up my words. So we are kicking off this series because I'm really fascinated behind the science of why essential oils do what they do. It's all good, fair enough, if Tanya says slap some lavender onto a minor burn on your finger, and it's going to take the stinging away, and it's going to be cytophylactic, and it's going to cause cell regeneration, which means you're probably not even going to blister. But why is it doing that? That why is what really fascinates me. So I'm going to try and break down the episodes per chemical constituent. And then we are going to see which essential oils those chemical constituents can be found in, which means after this series, you'll, for example, know, hey, if I don't have lavender, maybe I can try clary sage because the chemical constituent in there that I'm after, the function that I'm after, is the chemical constituent itself doing the work. And therefore, I can swap out my oils. So that's going to be really, really exciting. So let's get straight into it. The plant world being incredibly fascinating. We have around 350,000 plant species worldwide. It's probably more than that now as they start discovering new and wonderful things and all the dangerous plants in Australia, for example. We always just get told how many amazing plants we haven't yet discovered there. So really exciting. But I think the part that really intrigues me about that is probably only around 5% of the 350,000 plants are aromatic. And for any of you that have attended my Discover class where I teach the basics about essential oils and how they work and how we can use them, by the way, if you haven't yet, let me know in the comments if you would like to attend that very basic Essential Oil 101, shall we call it that? Write in the comments Essential Oil 101 if you want to attend that class and you haven't. But in that presentation, I also teach you that it's only a very small percentage of plant species around the world that produce these aromatic compounds. Now, 5% of the world's species obviously produce them, but we are only utilizing around 400 of those species. So that's 2% of the 5%. And if we take that from the total species population worldwide, 0.1%. So there's such an untapped plethora of species that we can still go into to start doing the research to see how it's going to be really supportive or whether it's not supportive. A lot of them actually may be toxic and then we can't use them. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. The chemical constituents are in essence what gives the function of an essential oil, all right? And if we think the essential oils mainly have 2 to 3 chemical constituents usually, but they can go up to about 70, 80, some of them even 100. Now, please don't think that the ones that are there in very small concentrations are not doing anything. Those chemical constituents can still play a very important role in the holistic feel and what that essential oil is going to do for your body. I'm going to give you one example. Bugapton or bugaptine. One, it's the chemical constituent, for example, that gives the photosensitivity to bergamot. It's only present in that oil in about 0.03%. Yet, bergamot is one of the most photosensitive essential oils out there. So it just goes to show that even if that chemical constituent is there in a very small concentration, it's still going to have an amazing effect on your body. All right, so let's talk about an essential oil. Every single essential oil, as I said, made up of chemical constituents and usually or mainly monoterpenes and sesquiterpenes. And the reason for that is there's 3 types of molecules. There's also diterpenes, but they don't usually come through in the essential oil itself. Too heavy. So during the steam distillation process, in other words, the diterpenes don't come with. It's the aromatic compounds. It's the volatile ones. The same reason, because top tip, as soon as you've opened that bottle and you've used it, to close it again, because they're aromatic, volatile, vluchtig. That is the Afrikaans word. They actually, they will come out of the bottle really quickly and they will go into the air and you're going to be inhaling it. And that's probably one of the quickest ways to start using essential oils, obviously, is aromatically, because it's going to travel up the nasal passage through your olfactory nerve sensors, and then those messages get sent to the limbic brain, so they can have an effect on your neurochemistry quite quickly. And today we're going to be talking specifically about an introduction to these monoterpenes and these sesquiterpenes. I'm going to mention some of them, and then as the series progresses, we're going to delve deeper into every single chemical constituent, and then also mention what oils contain those, so that you can start learning how to swap out your oils. So it's the monoterpenes and the sesquiterpenes. The monoterpenes are actually much smaller molecules. The sesquiterpenes are a little bit larger. And then they have functional groups on them. And this is the things that I usually talk about. It's the aldehydes, it's the esters, it's the ketones, those kind of guys. And that's where additional functionality is actually brought into that essential oil. And I'm not saying brought in by producing it and putting it in the bottle. The plant itself is actually producing it, right? So do make sure that you are using a tested grade essential oil, because then all the information that I will be mentioning to you during the series is going to be really relevant and is going to really be able to support you for that particular situation that you are trying to use that essential oil for. Because they are fairly small particles, and by fairly I mean really small, but fairly in scientific terms, they actually either have the ability, the essential oil chemical constituents, to pass through the cell membrane of a cell, or they have an interaction with certain proteins on the cell surface. All right, so both of those reactions, it's going to cause a cascade of reactions to either take place inside the cell or the protein that's being presented on the cell membrane wall itself. Not really a wall, but on the outside of the cell membrane, there's going to be an interaction there. And it's those interactions that we are after. And I think although there is still a lot of research required, I do have to say that there is quite a lot of research already being done. And whether it's in situ, in other words, in silico, where they are now able to modulate with computers to see the shape, in layman's terms, of these chemical constituents, they can work out how they will interact with certain proteins. And because of that, they then have a better idea what they are going to do in cell culture long before they even get to the cell culture or the animal studies or the human clinical trials. So it's really exciting. It's an amazing world to be part of. And even if you understand just the basics, you are going to know really well what it is that these oils are going to be doing for you. So understanding how they work, and how they induce beneficial effects in your body. It's the chemical reactions. Everything is chemistry and energy, all right? So by knowing and understanding what the chemistry is, not in depth, we're not going to do university graduate chemistry here. I'm basically going to teach you the basics just so you have a better grasp of what these oils are doing and why they are doing what they are doing. So it's going to be very exciting. I'm really excited. If you're excited, obviously, put it in the comments. I might be the only one that's excited about the chemistry, other than some very famous people out there doing the real chemistry research at the top of the companies that are producing these essential oils. I'm one of their biggest fans. So I think what is really amazing is that the companies are doing a lot of research now. So it's no longer something that is not funded, because I think the medical industry has realized that essential oils really do have a very big part to play. So not only do we have to understand what they are doing to the genes, there's probably about 20,000 genes in the human body. Oh, Natasha, you're very super excited. Fantastic. At least there's someone that's doing very excited or being very excited with me. We also need to understand what these oils are doing to various organisms, because we are not human. Yes, let that sink in. We are not all human. We're more bacteria and virus than we are human, really. If we start counting the cells, if we start counting the genomic material, then we actually are more bacterial and virus than we are human in a sense. So we've got to understand how these essential oils do work with all the organisms in this one organism that we call ourselves. We also need to understand what the biochemical pathways are going to do. So how do the essential oil chemical constituents affect the biochemical pathways? And there's research being done on that as we speak, as well as on macromolecules. In other words, not just processes that are being affected, but how they bind to certain macromolecules and what effect that has. So it's a really exciting industry to be part of at the moment, because there's just so much good research coming out. So we need to start looking at the cellular level, what essential oils are doing, but also what we call essential oil metabolism. So let's first look at the metabolism, because anything that we consume or that we put onto our skins or that we inhale has to go through a metabolism process. That basically just means that there's the chemical constituents are going to be consumed in a sense. They've got to do certain actions in the body, physically, emotionally, and then they've got to be processed into smaller molecules, metabolites we call them, and all of this happens in the liver. Now, it's not just that the essential oil then gets taken up into the bloodstream, for example, and then straight goes to the liver and then it gets secreted out of the body. It actually doesn't work like that. It's a little bit more complicated, but that's where the excitement comes in, because not only are some of these chemical constituents then able to be metabolized by the liver makes the smaller molecules, the metabolites, which can have further function in supporting the body, and it circulates for quite a while before it is then actually secreted from the body, either through the urine, some of it actually comes out through the feces, and some of it by breathing it out. So it's really, really exciting. Let's look at limonene, for example. That's one of the probably most abundant chemical constituents we find in a lot of our essential oils. Limonene is the primary constituent, and usually in citrus oils, I'm saying primary because they've got other components in there, but limonene is definitely the main one. So yes, there's many smaller ones, but limonene is the main one. But this is really cool because I originally thought it was just the limonene that was being used by the body, right? But it gets formed. Smaller metabolite gets formed called pyrrolic acid. This is the primary metabolite, and pyrrolic acid actually mimics what limonene does in the body, and then it can demonstrate an even stronger effect. So not only are we using essential oils because limonene is really good in supporting increased production of glutathione by the liver, for example, the most abundant antioxidant in the body. That limonene actually gets converted into pyrrolic acid, which further goes to work in supporting cells to increase glutathione production. Another example is linalool acetate. Now, if we look at, for example, something like clary sage, which has linalool and linalool acetate in there, linalool acetate gets converted to linalool by the liver. So then the linalool can carry on doing its calming effect in the body, whether it's for cellular or for the emotions, for example. So it's really exciting how they are going to interact with the body. And I think we'll get into a little bit of the detail as we go on with the series, not too much detail. But there's two other essential oils that I would like to mention as well when we start looking at the cellular processes. So one is the chemical constituents, for example, cinnamaldehyde, which we obviously find in cinnamon oil. It's really good for the colon. So there is a process where NRF2 needs to be regulated. So NRF2 is required for toxin reduction. So the colon is the prime target for toxins if you think about it. We consume foods, we have preservatives that come in, all kinds of nasties. So the colon needs to be able to be resilient enough to know what to do with that toxin. And there's a certain process that needs to be switched on, in other words. So the NRF2 is a DNA regulatory protein, but it needs to be upregulated. It needs to be switched on for it to start doing its work for your gut to be able to handle the toxins. Now, here's a cool thing. The cinnamaldehyde activates the NRF2. And these are the things we're going to get into without getting into too much detail. Oregano is another one. And oregano, the carvacrol in there is the molecule that we usually are after. Now, carvacrol is not only in oregano. Here we're going to start doing the swapping out. It's also found in thyme. But the carvacrol is very good for inflammation, well-regulated inflammation. In other words, a healthy inflammatory response. And it is mediated by the immune system. So carvacrol can really have an effect by supporting the immune system, and by knowing which essential oils contain the carvacrol, we can then start building our own blends if necessary, or swap out oils if we know exactly what we're after. All right, so that is why the chemical constituents, I think, are incredibly important. When you start to really dig into your oils a little bit more and wanting to know what they're going to do for your body, this is definitely going to be the series for you. So today was just an introduction. It may be a mouthful. It may be very big words for you, but I promise in time, it's just a different language that you need to learn. So where I, for example, cannot read a legal document because, I don't know, that's some funny kind of language that they write in there. It's a language that I haven't learned yet, the words that they use in legal documents. I will in time teach you slowly about the scientific terminology so that it becomes more familiar, so that when you read something or you see something in a science blog, you get to understand a little bit better how these essential oils can support both physically and emotionally. All right, so for those of you that would like a reminder about my live classes as they happen every single week, if you are not yet on my Telegram channel, please just pop the word Telegram in the comments and I will get that link off to you. And I've also got a couple of other groups, obviously, on social media, my Facebook page, my Instagram. Always just go look for @Botanicamy. I wish I was live on Instagram today, but that failed. That device failed. So I will upload this onto Insta as well. So I hope I have many of you on for the ride. You're also very welcome to go and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get notifications when the videos go. And today was just a little bit of a taster. I'm going to get you there. I'm going to teach you about all the individual ones. I mean, whether we're talking about limonene, bornyl acetate, for example, benzyl benzoate. Benzyl benzoate is not just a chemical that they put into sort of facial care products, for example. It's actually a chemical constituent that comes from essential oils. And a lot of them have very different functions. And during this series, we're going to learn how they're going to be supporting your body. So thanks for joining me today. Hopefully that wasn't too over the top. I'm going to make it simple. Please keep that in mind. And of course, the chat is available. So if there is ever anything that I say that you don't get firsthand, not a problem. Just put it in the comments and I'm going to definitely reach out to you one-to-one to help you understand things a little bit better. Thank you so much and see you all next week, Thursday. Cheerio.